Imagine a floodgate that not only stops your opponent from playing the game, but also has built-in protection. So Imperial Iron Wall is a really simple continuous trap that reads, neither player can banish cards. However, there are a lot of hidden gems about the effect of this card, and that's exactly what I will be mentioning in today's video. So first of all, even if your opponent summoned Dark Law before you resolve that Imperial Iron Wall, cards will still go to the graveyard instead of getting banished. And the reason for that is because Imperial Iron Wall actually says neither player can. That's a full restriction, whereas Dark Law isn't really a restriction, it's just instead of going to the graveyard, cards will get banished instead. So in other words, you can kind of imagine that Imperial Iron Wall has a bigger weight and a bigger priority than cards like Dark Law, Macrocosmos, D-Shifter, D-Fisher, etc. And then you have to remember that Imperial Iron Wall protects you from getting your cards banished, so if your opponent was trying to hit you with Cosmic Cyclone or Evenly Matched, that's not gonna work. So you're completely safe from getting your cards blown out by these cards, so in conjunction with King of the Sky Prison, you're pretty much safe from everything because King of the Sky Prison protects you from destruction with cards like Lightning Storm, Duster, but not Cosmic Cyclone and Evenly. Speaking of King of the Sky Prison or Lord of the Heavenly Prison, that's the new TCG name, whichever card you set off of its effect will get banished during the end phase of the next turn. So if you set Imperial Iron Wall and then you flip it right away, you're not going to get Imperial Iron Wall banished because obviously of its effect. Moving forward, every single time you set a card with King of the Sky Prison, it's going to pretty much stay there permanently because it's not going to be suffering from the drawback. Oh, and of course, Imperial Iron Wall applies to every single card out there, not just monsters. So even spells and traps like Eldritch or the Virtual World spells and traps are going to die really hard to this card. Personally, I would probably try to shotgun Imperial Iron Wall on standby or draw phase, so I would prevent my opponent from going into Pot of Desire, Pot of Extravagance, Pot of Prosperity, or pretty much any other card that banishes cards for cost. Now, but for real though, imagine sitting on a permanent Artifact Lancia. So many decks would lose to this. I can think of Tri-Brigade, Flunderies, Virtual World, Eldritch, Dinosaurs, the list goes on. The craziest part is that there are actually some decks that benefit off of playing Imperial Iron Wall in their deck. Salamangreat would be the first example because the Spinny that you bring back will never get banished. It'll just go to the graveyard even if you link it off instead of making Mirage Talio with it, which is already pretty good. Sky Striker is probably the best example because cards that get set back with multi-roll will get banished when they leave the field, but under Imperial Iron Wall, you pretty much have an infinite loop of always recycling the same cards every single time. There are also some other decks that can use Imperial Iron Wall without necessarily benefiting off of the card, but without getting heavily nerfed because of its own floodgate. And a few examples of decks that could use Imperial Iron Wall pretty well would be Outergeist, Subterror, Prank Kids, Sword Soul, Burning Abyss Traps. Again, the list goes on. There are so many decks that can play this card, and so many decks that actually lose really hard to this card. So personally, I would be side decking a card like Imperial Iron Wall. I think it's really good in conjunction with King of the Sky Prison, as I said. Do I think it's a broken floodgate? I think it's actually really good, especially in a format where the top decks are all banishing. Imagine like an Orcust format or Thunder Dragon format. Imperial Iron Wall would have been absolutely disgusting. It just kills everyone. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this card review. I want to know what you guys actually think of this card. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.